So the next one that we are going to look into is if a mooring line is breaking. So that's for a floating wind turbine. So I just created a model here. So this type of wind turbines, of floating wind turbines, maybe I can show the C, just so that you see that it's actually a floating wind turbine. Okay, so there's different types of floaters. This one is called a spar. There's other types that are, you know, more or less common. And this one in particular is, well, it's based on a model that's called the high wind model. So yeah, there's one out there that looks really similar to this. I think I put a picture of it, but you don't really see what happens below, so you can't really see. But what I wanted to look into here is what happens when one of the mooring lines breaks. So, you know, this, just going to remove this. This wind turbine here has 3 mooring lines, but this one I'm not modeling. This one I'm modeling just by applying a load. So I'm just like kind of, you know, pulling on the structure as much as an actual mooring line would be pulling. And now what we're going to look at is, so the motion of the floater. So I'm just going to add this first and then explain what it is. And yeah, the acceleration of the nacelle. Okay, so we have a few graphs here. This one here, that's telling me how much my wind turbine is moving backwards. Okay, so a positive number means that, yeah, that we're moving like backwards, like kind of out of the wind. And this one here is, so this is very unfortunate. It's also called pitch, but it has nothing to do with the blades. Okay. This means how much the floater is kind of tilting forward and backwards. Okay. And this is something that you don't want to be too much, obviously. And this here is the acceleration of the hub. So this point here, that's called the hub. And this is telling you how much that is moving, okay? What's the acceleration in the hub? So now I have my wind turbine with my 3 mooring lines. And at 30 seconds, this one is going to disappear. So we're simulating that it just suddenly breaks. It's kind of hard to get information on these things because in the wind industry, everything is very secretive, okay? So, but my understanding is that today, the way you would know that a mooring line has broken is by tracking the displacement of the wind turbine, okay? So if you see that your wind turbine is moving too much, then it's because nothing is holding it back. There are some people that are trying to find like better ways to do this. And in particular, one way is to check the accelerations. So if I start my simulation again, 30 seconds, my mooring line breaks. So you can see that I don't have my load anymore. And what's interesting to see here in the acceleration is that you have a certain peak in the acceleration. You suddenly have like a lot of vibrations, and this happens, you know, almost instantly after the mooring line is broken. So this is very interesting because it allows you to say, okay, my wind turbine has, you know, is not being held anymore by the mooring lines. Shut it down, you know, and then you would enter the same procedure that we saw before, where you start pitching the blades just to stop the wind turbine from spinning. The other way the way that is done today, as far as I know, is by checking the position. So you can see, I mean, well, this is pretty obvious, right? Like there's no mooring line here, so we're just like pushing the wind turbine backwards, and then it's just gonna keep moving until until this mooring line stop it, or until we stop it from rotating. It's interesting to say that for this one, so the guys that developed this model, they claim that mooring lines are redundant. So they're saying that even if one mooring line was broken, the wind turbine could still be operating. So I think, so, you know, to what I understand is that that means that, you know, if this happens, this that I'm showing happens, then they can just wait for it to, like, you know, keep producing energy. until they have time to go and fix it. Don't quote me on that, okay? But I think that's yeah, I think that's what they're currently claiming. So if you were to check that, there's a few things that you have to check. I mean, one of them is, this mooring line has broken now. Is my wind turbine still, stable? Is it still like facing upwards? This is what this graph is telling you, okay? So from here, it seems like, well, it's not very different than before the mooring line broke. Another one would be to check the loads within the mooring lines that are left, right? So we could check the actual loads as we did before. But yeah, this would be things to check for this case. Yes. That's a very good question. I don't know. Let's have a look. I don't know, but this is going to tell us. Oh, I don't have the I don't have the generator sensor, so I cannot give you the answer. I would have had to add it, which I can put here, and we can see what the power is now. It's a bit tricky because with let me just close this so that we can see the power better. So an offshore wind turbine, like a floating wind turbine, moves a lot, and if it moves, out of the wind or into the wind, you get more or less power, right? Because if the wind is coming from here and I'm moving this way, then effectively the wind turbine is seeing more wind because it's kind of going into the wind. And when it goes like this, it's seeing less wind. So that's why you see these kind of, lots of fluctuations. There's ways to alleviate this effect with, if you play with the rotational speed or with the pitch of the blades. But so, there was a lot of variation before the, before the mooring line broke. So kind of giving a value now would also be difficult. But anyway, my guess is that not much actually. So you will lose a little bit of power because the wind turbine is kind of drifting away, but that speed is really low compared to the incoming wind speed. So without having done the check, my guess is that maybe not that much. Sorry, I should have said the question for those of you online. The question was, how much has the power dropped after the mooring line broke? I'm going to move on to the next failure event, unless anyone has a question or wants to check something.